This is a very simple run. We're going to play through Joan of Arc on hard with the added no baguettes are allowed to die. Buildings are okay because it would be a pain in the ass to count an outpost scout that died to a castle as a unit death. This is the first mission of the campaign, and this is honestly one of two missions within this run that actually involves fighting and not hiding behind castles. We get some men-at-arms and crossbows at the start, but we aren't really going to use them that much with how squishy they are. You're going to use your two hero knights and pretty much exclusively the only two hero knights. You're going to walk through the French countryside, taking care of highwaymen as you go, pick up a ram, bust down the wall, basically get to some transports, sail to the river, get to Chinon. There's only one panic moment here, and that's with the war galley in the river. Sometimes it chases to transport till it dies, and sometimes it doesn't. Easy enough mission win, on to Orleans. This was one of my favorite campaign missions when I was younger. I always loved the idea of hurriedly running to Orleans to lift it from the English siege, and I would always get distracted fighting the English and the Burgundians in the south while fighting off attacks from the north. We're going to go ahead and garrison the two infantry you get at the start in the friendly tower to avoid being converted by wandering monks. This happened to me the first time I did this mission. You're going to grab Joan and Alicon and ignore the ambush to the west on the road. You can fight this, but it's pointless, and we really want to arrive on time to the southern English. Pick up the knights in Blois and head to the southern English. Leave everything else behind. The southern English don't have much of a military yet, and we're just here to complete the second main objective. We're going to abuse their units walking around, and as they enter the gate, we're going to bring our own units up into the gate and rush the castle. They don't have murder holes yet, and we'll sit here until the castle falls. When it falls, bring the cavalry back towards Blois, but send Joan and Alicon up the road first to kill the enemy monk. That monk will convert a unit if you let it. After that, go back, grab the resupply carts, and head to Orleans to win the mission. Now we're on to the third mission in this Joan of Arc campaign, the cleansing of the lore. I hate this mission purely for the amount of times I had to restart this mission. Those longbowmen the English have will absolutely snipe villagers somewhere and ruin your run. The pathing in AoE 2 is notoriously terrible, and I felt it on this mission. You'll look away for one moment and have a villager walking across the entire map. A lot of run restarts happen because of this, and that's why I ended up taking this mission painfully slow, dropping castles and walls incrementally. We're going to set up camp on the southeast side of the map while sending our knights and crossbows to Orange. Throw your ships you get at the south corner of the map in no attack stance. These demolished ships are nice, but worthless to us in the run. Bar Red's longbows, the only other significant threat is Orange if they can get built up, so we're not going to allow that. Murder Orange's villagers and move in and kill the town center when they're down. Problem gone. Now there's a trick with this mission. Once you drop one out of the 3 English castles, Orange will show back up with a small army. This can cause a restart of the mission if you're unprepared, but on the bright side it's all melee units and rams. Use castles or throwing axemen behind a wall to take them out. After that, we're going to keep playing super casual since we're afraid of unit pathing, and with that final castle down we can move on to Rising. I'm just happy I finally got through that mission. The Rising. This is the 4th mission of the campaign, and we find ourselves right outside of Reims in the countryside, tasked with liberating 3 cities from the English. We must first make our way into the military camp on the west side of the map, but there's a small English encampment in our way. We're going to use Joan and some of our beefier units to deal with the problem and head to the camp. Now that we're here, we're tasked to kill 3 enemy town centers with the added not-so-benefit of them becoming allies once their TC goes down. Honestly, I don't know why that happens because I've never seen the AI do anything beyond mine up resources you need. Rush green first to get rid of the border problem. They don't have much of a military to start out with, and you can take care of them with your starter cav in siege. Getting rid of this enemy quickly gives you access to more gold reserves and a stepping stone to the final 2 cities. While preparing for your next 2 sieges, start building some defenses. Your French and castles are cheap. Start building up a forward line near green and a defensive line on the eastern side of your town. Do it well and do it often. Be paranoid of everything around you and slowly push up with offensive castles and siege. It's normally a quick mission, and with that final TC down, we move on to the Siege of Paris. This is the second to last mission of the Joan of Arc campaign, Siege of Paris. This is such a great layout of the mission. You're tasked with busting into Paris, grabbing 6 refugees, and busting out to meet up with the Dauphin. You have no way of healing your units bar your siege equipment, and no good way of getting new units. There is a small reinforcement army in the northeastern part of the city, but they're low-tech units surrounded by high-tech problems. You're better off ignoring they exist. You have a normally well-rounded army to help you along with that, but unfortunately we can't use half of it. Leave the pikemen behind and take everything west. Attacking the main gate head-on is possible, but it's a needless headache with a dozen longbowmen, heavy cav, and more waiting behind it. Clear the keep and move your crossbowmen inside. Take Joan to bait out the much smaller amount of 3 longbowmen. Once they're gone, hit the wall to bait out the champions and take them out near the keep. Keep slowly moving forward and baiting out the problems incrementally. Use your hero bombard to kill the ships and towers, trebuchet to kill the monks. While that's going on, use your siege to clear brush next to the northwestern wall across the shore. Now we wait for some reinforcements and immediately throw them into a safety corner next to the other discarded units. Clear the rest of the brush away and slowly walk outside of Paris. Go around the city and clear-cut a path through a forest to avoid walking into a Burgundian ambush. Violently tear a hole in your allies' wall and walk in with the refugees and Joan. With that, we get the victory chime and this mission is over, and we're on to what's normally the hardest mission to play in this campaign. Now by the end of this, we finally reached the worst mission in this entire campaign. You're tasked with planting a French flag on a hill to spite the English. You're given a pretty good army that's capable of taking out 2 of the 3 enemies in the beginning, Burgundy and Shrewsbury. However, it's annoyingly enough on hard difficulty since the AI will attack you regardless of progress around the 20-minute mark, and there is no good place to set up and prepare for a long defensive siege. There is a speedrunning strategy to beat this mission, but it's impossible on Deathless since it requires you losing a couple dozen units. So, we're just going to sail it instead. We'll use these 6 villagers we get to chop wood, and chop wood we will until we have a little over 600 of it. Throw every other unit beside the arbalests and hand cannons to the south to avoid accidental unit death and for them to sit and do nothing. Now that we have all the wood we need, you can see we're going to fix the housing crisis plaguing France by building 13 homes near our dock, and we're going to go ahead and load our French flag and 2 cav hero units inside. The one with lesser health will be dropped off before the landing to distract these 3 enemy ships. If we don't do this, then our transport won't make it for the landing and we lose the mission. Now that we've landed, we slow the speed down as far as it'll go because my god, there's a lot happening here. Use the hero cav to run around attracting all the negative attention it can, while the flag cart runs to the hill while playing dodgeball with bombard towers. And with that victory chime, this hellish nightmare is over. This campaign is one of my all-time favorites. Instead of spending 5 or 6 missions going from point A to point B and building a town over and over and over again like every other campaign, you're given 2 missions involving just conserving units as best you can, and a 3rd mission that just entails slapping a flag down on a hill. Overall, pretty good campaign.